Walter Catton, this is the new normal. The music from his daughter's cello has never sounded sweeter.
Where's your football?
The laughter of his 6 children makes his spirit soar.
All the things you took for granted because they were always there are, I think, more celebrated today than they were.
Even the pain he feels with each step he takes is tolerable.
That's my new normal.
His new normal isn't perfect, but it's better than the alternative. On May 3, 2009,
I went for a bike ride on a Sunday. I came home 40 days later.
2.5 miles from his Holland home, Walter was run over by an SUV.
A bicyclist in critical condition after being hit by an SUV.
He nearly died that night. His broken body was a mess of mangled extremities.
The potential for loss of an extremity was quite high. And in fact, the discussion that I had with his wife that night was that there was a good chance that we weren't going to be able to save his right leg.
Dr. James Ringler and his trauma team at Spectrum Health were instrumental in helping save Walter's life and leg. But the injuries were so severe that rehab would be long and excruciatingly painful.
There were times that I even sat there and thought, it's easier for him to die and go be with the Lord than it is for him to stay on this earth. And that it was almost, at some points I felt selfish to ask God to keep him here.
Kim Catton wasn't the only one praying for her husband. He was lifted up in prayer by his church, by strangers around the world posting on his care page, and by Holland Police Detective Dave Blakely, who was one of the first to arrive at the accident scene.
When you first saw him laying there and you saw that blood and you saw some bone chips,
Yeah.
did you think this guy had a chance?
No. No.
Detective Blakely was off duty that night with his son Peyton. When they heard the impact from a distance, they headed toward the sound. Once they got there, Dave stopped the bleeding from Walter's severed femoral artery. Peyton, an EMT major at Lake Superior State, cleared an airway. They kept him alive until the ambulance arrived.
After they got him stabilized, transported over to the chopper, and they took off, it's like, hey, he's in God's hands.
As they watched Aeromed take him away, the Blakeleys stopped and prayed. A neighbor would later say she did the same thing when Aeromed flew over Walter's house. At the time, she had no idea he was the one she was praying for, or how badly he needed those prayers.
Do you think that perhaps all the prayer may have had as much to do with keeping him alive as all the work that you and the EMTs and the doctors did?
Absolutely. And I would say that supersedes it.
Before the accident, Walter Catton was driven. He was a business owner who spent long hours at the office. He was an endurance athlete who trained before and after work.
And I very much looked at things in terms of work, self, family, and faith. And I kept them in that order. Having a very strong focus on my work, on my training.
In fact, he was training for an endurance race when he was hit by the SUV. He just never dreamed he'd have to endure this, or the joy and happiness that would follow.
Oh, good throw, Lucas. My priorities today have almost completely inverted to be faith, family, self, and work.
After the accident, Walter couldn't work, and he couldn't train. As he healed, he had time to spend with his family, time to focus on them, time to reflect on what was really important.
I believe so firmly that the Lord had a plan, that however He's using me in that plan will still continue to roll out. I don't know what my future holds, but I absolutely know who holds my future.
And having this happen to us, and you know, it's brought us closer to our relationship with the Lord. It's brought us closer together as a couple.
Has this accident made you a better man, a better person?
I think in a lot of ways it has, Jack. I think that it's changed my perspective and my outlook tremendously in a very positive way.
80 days after his body was ravaged, Walter took his first steps. 150 days after the accident, he went running for the first time. Step by painful step, he pushed his body, and not just to the point of recovery.
Not letting the accident and what had happened to us define who I am, and have that be that piece that I constantly look back on and say, well, I would do this if it wasn't for that, or I would do this if it wasn't for that. I never want that to be words that I use.
You can never finish anything you don't start. Bottom line, you don't keep trying in life, where's it going to get you? Not very far.
On Saturday, Walter Catton will step to the starting line at the Fifth Third Riverbank Run and finish the race that a year ago he never got to start. He'll fight off the pain that comes with his new normal and run the entire 25 kilometers, inspiring others as he does, but most importantly, teaching his 6 children a life lesson they won't soon forget.
Not doing it isn't an option. So looking forward, saying, you know, raising the bar out there for the kids to see that, you know, even if you're faced with a tough challenge and adversity, that it can be overcome, and it will be overcome.